Hi, this is Pastor Rachel McIver-Maury, and this is the introductory video for the book of Isaiah for those doing the project of reading the Bible in a year. And I should say books of Isaiah because many scholars think that the book of Isaiah is actually 3 documents, or 2 at a minimum, that came to us collected after the exilic period. Why is that? Well, a couple of reasons for that. The first is we need to name that our modern notions of authorship do not align with ancient notions of authorship. For example, if I wrote a document and put somebody else's name on it, no, that's not okay. We can't do that, and there's all sorts of reasons for that to be true. Back then, it was a different understanding, and in fact, writing something in the spirit of, or in the hope of, or in the intentions of a particularly beloved spiritual figure or important person was a relatively common exercise, and it was intended to be honoring that person, to say that so-and-so had inspired these words. And so we need to sort of let go of our modern notions of authorship when we approach books like this, because it makes us stretch things that don't need to be stretched. For example, the book of Isaiah, secondly, has a huge span of time that it covers from before the Babylonian exile to after the exile, or immediately post. And so that's an enormous time span, and it's highly unlikely, not impossible, but highly unlikely that one person would have covered it all. So instead, it's good to note and be aware of the fact that this book may in fact be a collection of documents that come to us. Typically, the book is divided into parts from chapter 1 to 39, then from chapter 40 to 56, and then from 56 to the end of the book. Those would be Isaiah 1, 2, and 3. So what is the book of Isaiah all about? Well, it really is a very prophetic articulation of the experience of exile, from knowing it's going to happen to it happening and then trying to make meaning of it. So that's sort of the overarching understanding that you get from the book of Isaiah. So in that, you get the first chapters of warning and of concern that the people of Judah and Jerusalem are not taking this seriously, and trying to convince them that they really ought to take seriously the fact that the empire to the east and to the north are coming, and they do not have good intention for them. And just because they are in Jerusalem does not mean that they are safe. The temple of God is there, yes, but the people may not understand what that means. Then there's evidence that the belief was that because the temple of God was in Jerusalem, the people in Judah and Jerusalem thought Jerusalem would never fall. And in fact, that proves not to be true. So then the narrative of Isaiah moves through the experience of the exile and into settling as refugees and vassals of the Babylonian state after that. And there's all sorts of theological wrestling here, and there's the hope for a Messiah. It's referred to as a suffering servant figure. And there's the hope that God is even at work in the hated Babylonian and then Persian empires. And there's a naming of the political figures of the time who have nothing to do with Yahweh, the God of the Israelites, the Judeans, but rather that God can be at work in ways outside of the political and religious structures of the Judean and Jerusalem people. So those are all the wrestlings, or some of the wrestlings and the questions that come with reading the book of Isaiah. It offers opportunities for reflection about what happens when the worst happens, and where is God when that occurs, and where is the hope. And the prophet Isaiah walks with the whole people who find themselves in exile out of Jerusalem through that process and that pain. So, as with always, there are 3 questions we invite for reflection. 1, where is God in what I'm reading? 2, what are the ideas, thoughts, concepts that are challenging to me and why? And 3, what's going on in the world around me that connects with what I am reading? Thanks, and happy reading.